Welcome to Residential Tech Talks. I'm Jeremy Glowacki, Executive Editor of Residential Tech Today. On this week's podcast, my guest is John Clancy, who has been VP of Residential at Crestron for the past 5 years. Prior to joining Crestron, John spent 22 years at Audio Command Systems, a custom integration company in Westbury, New York. John is here to talk about the Crestron Home control and automation platform, in particular, what has been added after this week's extensive 3.4 update. But per usual, we'll get to know John a little bit better and how he got interested in residential technology in the first place. John Clancy, thanks so much for joining me today.
Oh, my pleasure. How are you, Jeremy?
Good to see you. We'll both stumble over our words. It's just the way it is. I love intros when I can get through them. Great to connect with you again virtually, John. I've seen you on Zoom several times this past, I guess, 12 months. We've had a lot of virtual product introductions, a dealer conference. You're one of the few people that I've actually seen appear from your real office. Today, you're virtual. You've got the virtual office environment behind you. But am I correct that you've been able to make it into the Rockley, New Jersey headquarters from time to time?
That's correct. Yeah. So I do go in on average 3 or 4 days a week. Today just happens to be one of the days that I am working from home. Just make it a little bit easier on the commute.
I know your previous career was on Long Island. Are you a resident of Long Island as well?
I am, and that's why I stress that word commute, because that even though distance-wise it's not that far, that commute even nowadays can still be a couple of hours. So yeah, it does save me some time. Makes life a little more efficient.
Well, it's great that you can still be safe in the headquarters and interact with your team in person from time to time. That's a rare thing these days, but it looks like however you get it done during this global pandemic, the residential team at Crestron has been super busy. Am I correct that there have been 8 major upgrades until this current one to the Crestron Home platform since its introduction in September of 2019? That's a lot of stuff in a short amount of time.
Yeah, so I will say that we have been extremely busy, not just on, obviously Crestron Home that next week will be our 9th release to the platform in 16 months or so. And, that's dramatic and amazing in itself, but the products and the hardware portions continue to come as well. So we haven't slowed down and in fact, accelerated. The product development team is hard at work. Many of them are still working from home, especially the software team. But many of the hardware team are coming into the office on a daily basis.
Well, I know we're going to cover Crestron Home, go back over what the major accomplishment of just getting Crestron Home created was, and what the updates have been. And I do want to get to that, but I first kind of wanted to go back to talk about your career and just get to know you a little bit better. You joined Crestron in 2016 after 22 years as a custom integrator with Audio Command Systems in Westbury, New York, as I said. That is a long stretch with one company. And I'm sure that you have a lot of just war stories like everyone that's been in this industry does. What did you like the most of your time as a custom integrator, and what did you find most frustrating about that part of your career?
Wow. So what I liked the most was interacting with clients. Obviously working at this level, you meet people that at a level that most people don't really have that much contact with. But what you find out is that wealthy, famous, there's still regular people and who just want the same basic things in their home. I mean, if you ask just about any one of our end users what they want something that's easy to use and that's reliable. And all the other bells and whistles are great, but they're meaningless if those 2 first points aren't met. And so, what you find is that, yes, the houses may be massive and the project's extreme, but the basic wants and needs are essentially the same as everyone else's. And they are just regular people, just with, big houses.
I'm curious, did you have pretty well-known business people and celebrity clients over those years. That's Long Island's a great place to live when you're in the New York market, big homes and that sort of thing. Did you have a lot of those types of clients?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, and I still keep in touch with many of them. I just had a call 2 days ago with a client of mine that I had for 15 years, who just likes to stay in touch. I mean, I used to meet with him every quarter just to talk about technology. He had 5 homes, or has 5 homes, and we had done all of those projects and done a few of them over again. And he liked to meet periodically just to find out what's going on. What are other people doing? What's the market like? And just wanted to be educated about what was current. And it's really hard for someone on the outside of our world to grasp all that and understand it.
Right. Yeah, I know it's great just to be the resource a lot of times, not even the salesperson or the technician for for an individual, but just their resource to understand what's going on. And what about I kind of want to talk about your transition into manufacturing to your role with Crestron. Was there a point of frustration? Was there a turning point where you said, I just really need to make a change, or how'd that role
I
switch
wouldn't,
happen?
yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it frustration. What I guess, so I might relate it to boredom, right? I mean, in the
Mm,
sense that it was Groundhog Day. You'd meet a new customer, you'd hear about their frustration with some previous installation or something. I would earn their confidence, and I'd educate them over the course of time, and that was my style of selling. We'd execute the project, get paid, and move on, and you'd meet another one, and it was just kind of very routine, the same challenges over and over. That and the fact that this opportunity came about, purely based on my frustration with Crestron at the time.
okay.
um, it was literally me calling my current boss now, Randy Klein, and complaining about what I believed or perceived as not a serious focus towards the residential business. And that conversation morphed over a few months into, well, come here and do something about it. And I looked at that as an opportunity and a challenge. And to be honest, I have been challenged every day since. And that's what keeps me going. I don't want to be bored, and I really I look for that challenge. And by far, this is the last 5 years have been the most challenging in the last 30. And
Hmm.
hopefully, from the outside looking in, it looks like it's paying off, but from the inside looking out, it absolutely feels like it is.
Well, it was clear to me, having been part of this industry for as many years as you have, I think, that your role made an impact pretty much immediately. And it was very much what you were saying. I could see from the outside, having observed Crestron for years, that the focus was really on the commercial side so much more as the years went on. And obviously that was a huge part of the business. There's no question that, what, 70%, 80%, something like that, being so focused on commercial, that's where your attention's going to go. But there you stand up as a dealer and say, hey, we're out here, we're residential guys doing Crestron jobs, why aren't you doing more with us, or whatever that conversation was that Randy said, come on and help us out. How much about what you could see from the outside or understand about Crestron was different once you got on the inside? Did you see there, oh, okay, this is how things work? Or was there anything that was just sort of an aha kind of thing, and then you adjusted after you got into the job?
Well, look, I will say that I certainly did question my move in that first 30 days. Like, what in the world did I do? I had it easy. My office was 6 miles from my house. I was an owner. I basically can come and go as I please, and do what I wanted to do. And then I put myself into this position where this is not a comfortable position right away. Initially, it's a whole new environment. It's quite a commute. Um, and the learning that I had ahead of me, that I look back on now, the things that I didn't know then that I wish I knew, that I have just learned and picked up, um, were all a different experience, right? It was, going from the resale side, and selling the products of a manufacturer, to being behind the scenes and involved with product development, software development, market development, marketing, and then running a sales team, initially just domestically and now globally. Learning all of the little bits and pieces of what triggers a Crestron sale in a different market. All of that stuff, it's definitely got me to a point now where I am extremely confident. But no one trains you for that, especially coming from the dealer side coming in. So, it was a lot of on the job of learning, and I think that was probably the most challenging portion, especially early on.
I could see that being the case. Do you think my customer's the dealer? I was a dealer for 22 years. I must have all the insight that I need for this role. But then there's the actual mechanical aspects of creating a product, the different pieces that go together. How many, just out of curiosity, how many people are you now managing in your role?
Globally, it's just under 100. It's
Wow.
probably, and those are direct, and then there's probably an indirect team. Again, people that don't necessarily report to me, but are involved with supporting the residential side of the business, both from product development and engineering and customer service and tech support. So it's a lot.
Yeah. And how many at the peak for when you're an integrator owner?
So at ACS, our New York office we grew to almost about 100 people
Okay.
in '07. So the quantity is the same, but it's very different, right? One office, one location. For the most part, I interacted with our Florida and California offices, but not nearly on the day-to-day level. It was mostly just catch-ups and reviews and best practice sharing and things like that.
Right. Well, going back a little bit further in your career, I see you graduated from college there in Westbury. Is it New York Tech, New York Institute of Technology, where you went to school?
I did go to school there. Yeah, I did not graduate.
Oh, you
No,
did not. Okay. See, that's
no.
the thing you read into that sometimes. I have this habit of reading obituaries, and you see someone attended somewhere, and you're like, did they mean to say they graduated from there, or did they not finish?
Yeah, I was too impatient, and I am not a good student.
Okay.
Not from just a classroom experience. I to sit there and be taught. I'd rather be just show me what to do and give it to me and let me go. And that's how I learned to be a programmer for Crestron software. At ACS, we picked up Crestron in 1993, 94 for the residential space, and I essentially learned it. I didn't go to my first Crestron training class until probably late 90s, 96, 97. And I had already, learned what I needed to get the projects done. And we had started with, just audio and video distribution, but we quickly morphed into home automation, tying in lighting and shading and HVAC at a very early stage with Crestron that really wasn't intended at that point in time to be used
Mm.
residentially. But yeah, it's kind of how I operate. I'd rather just do it.
So did you get a job right out of the gate with ACS, the out of your college days?
Actually a really funny story. I interviewed for the job and didn't get it, and got the job later on when the person they hired didn't work out.
Oh,
So I started as a technician at ACS,
okay.
and I essentially worked in just about every role possible as an integrator. Outside of maybe accounting and purchasing,
Hmm.
but from installation to project management to sales to design and engineering and programming, and essentially move my way up to becoming an owner of that company over the first 10 years or so.
Oh, that's impressive. And despite your lack of formal education and even focus on training, I'm just curious, what was the turning point where you said, I need to go to actual Crestron training for programming? What was the?
Well, at
Yeah.
that point, I wanted to know what I didn't know, right?
Okay.
We had been successful and I had gotten projects done and customers were happy, but it hit me one day that imagine if I really learned all the little ins and outs and things that. And again, I went and I was frustrated in the classroom, but
Well, I mean, it must inform what you're like on the manufacturing side to have gone through all those different roles in a company to really understand what folks do in the deal on the dealer side, and even maybe their challenges with training like you had. So you probably can apply some of that. What were you like as a kid? Were you also into tech way back as a kid?
Absolutely. And I don't know, I was always drawn to it, even when I didn't want to be. There was a point in time I went back to school and chose, believe it or not, I went for physical therapy for 2 semesters and realized I didn't want to just be touching people all the time. And but I tried to fight off I guess the instinct of my focus towards technology. But as a young kid, I mean, I don't even know what my age was. Probably 8, 9 years old. There was a box of electronics under my bed, and I used to just play with things. I mean, it was just build little assemblies, just handmade products out of scraps from other electronics and things like that.
Now, were you a music kid also? So that seems like a pathway for a lot of folks in the industry. Were you into playing instruments?
I did. I played drums but again, that required more focus and attention than I guess I was ready for. So I didn't stay with it, but I did. I did stick with the electronics even during that period where I tried to push it away. It came back and found me, and that's where I realized that stop fighting it and just follow it.
Well, I had no idea your attention span was so short. You always carry yourself so well in meetings and presentations. So you've done well for yourself despite the type A type personality. I do want to get into our conversation about Crestron Home because that's one of the main reasons why you're here. We're going to take a short break and return soon with Crestron's John Clancy.
This episode of Residential Tech Talks is brought to you by Ring, home security systems and smart home automation. Get protection at every corner with their intelligent security cameras, alarm systems, and video doorbells. Receive notifications when motion is detected or check on your home anytime with Live View in the Ring app. Help keep your neighborhood safer with the Neighbors app to share information and discuss safety concerns in this hyper-local social networking platform. Ring's mission is simple: make neighborhoods safer. Discover all the smart home security products by Ring. Go to ring.com.
Welcome back. I'm talking with Crestron's VP of Residential, John Clancy. John, I would say that your hiring really renewed the identity of Crestron on the residential side. You immediately seemed to step in as the advocate for the dealer side, clearly with your experience there, and really brought just a familiarity that wasn't necessarily obvious there because the commercial side was so important to the company. What were some of the early challenges that were presented to you in your role, or were you just kind of given the keys and said, "Hey, do what you think you can do here. You're going to learn the ropes." I'm sure that there was more guidance in that. So, what were some of the things given to you that said, "Hey, this is what we'd like you to accomplish"?
Well, I will say that initially when I was brought on, again, Randy Klein introduced me to the rest of the executive team as the only one that really had the experience level from our customer's side, right?
Mhm.
Many of the engineering team and customer service team and product development team were, focused on just those areas. None of them really had that experience of what does an end user really want? How does the project really happen? What does a dealer go through during the period of installation, both from the selling point to the time it's handed off and final payment is received, and so many things happen during that process. And how is a product selected? All of those things, and why are they selected? Right? Crestron, again, arguably makes some of the most robust products in the category. So from HQ's perspective, how come this isn't easy? Why are we winning every single project? And when you can start talking about the complexity at the time of software, programming our systems, 5 years ago was not what it is now with Crestron Home, and that definitely played into it. I think the fit and finish and look and feel of a lot of our products, which again may fit great in a commercial boardroom, but not necessarily in a high-end living room, right? So focusing on that. And I think, over the first few years, coming out with new remote controls and keypads that look like they fit in the spaces in which they end up in, and then simplifying the deployment of our products through new software like Crestron Home, and then enhancing the user experience, again focused around Crestron Home, were really the things that I wanted to focus on when I first came there. And it's, I can't believe it's taken 5 years, but or I've been here for 5 years. It doesn't seem like it's 5 years already.
Well, I absolutely want to transition into talking about what Crestron Home has accomplished. But before we do that, I just wanted to acknowledge the untimely passing of Fred Bargetzi on your team, the CTO, 30-year veteran of the company, highly respected, just one of these beloved people. What does his loss mean to the company?
Well, look, Fred was one of the reasons I came to Crestron. Fred was a friend of mine. I mean, he kept me engaged with Crestron as a dealer in ways that other manufacturers didn't, and that's probably one of the reasons I ended up here. For lots of reasons, right? We used to meet periodically. I'd tell him what I think the industry needed or what we needed specifically. He'd tell me and show me what they were working on, and we'd fight for a little while about that. But we always there was an absolute level of mutual respect there, because he had a good handle on what we dealt with on the outside.
Mm.
So yeah, his passing was difficult, and it's something that he'll never be replaced, right? But we knew he was sick for a while, so the company had prepared itself to continue to evolve past this. So yeah, it's been difficult. Like I said, he was a friend and mentor to so many employees there, friends of the industry, dealers, competitors, and so again, he's someone that just won't be replaced. But as a company, we had to plan ahead, many months in advance to know that we had to sustain the thousands of families that rely on Crestron.
Well, I do want to start now, just backtrack about what the importance of Crestron Home has been for the company and for your dealers. It's one of those platforms that seems that it came when the time was right for it. Maybe it wouldn't have been possible before, you actually introduced it. And what makes it so different from the way systems were deployed in the past using Crestron?
Sure. I mean, look, let me first say that the custom side of our business, or the legacy programming of Simple Windows and VT Pro, the tools that our custom programming utilize, those aren't going away, right? I mean, that's not changing. We'll still have that ability to customize, or allow our dealers to customize these systems almost infinitely, right, based on the project requirements or the customer's needs. But I know that for real sustainable growth, and we needed to focus on A, making it easy to deploy, and then B, still delivering a really high quality user experience. So that was really what that was about. As a former programmer, to be honest, I was always dabbling at home, right? So the frustration of never having two rooms operate the same, because I'm always trying something new, it was frustrating for my family, but also, so now having Crestron Home, it's a breath of fresh air. Everything works when it's supposed to work, because I'm not experimenting, right?
Okay.
I'm not trying new things, or spending a weekend to get a new TV or some new product implemented. So that speed and ease are real. But again, I don't want to take away from the custom side of what we do, because that is important. That gets us into projects and even markets that are really difficult for our competitors. The marine business, for instance, those mega yachts and super yachts. Crestron Home isn't built for those projects. It's not uncommon that these projects have hundreds of our NVX endpoints, right? These are massive, massive systems, and only Crestron can answer those types of needs on the custom side. So that really was what started that evolution. That market, or the ability to sell in that space is finite, right? Those extreme projects are finite. So how do we grow the business and allow our dealers to really go after projects that they wouldn't be able to or wouldn't be competitive, especially when you look at the cost of programming. When we compare ourselves to some of our competitors, our products may be a little bit more expensive, but the big deal breaker for many of those wins was that cost of programming. And
Right.
sometimes, a 5-figure number, you'd stand out, right?
Yeah.
And the other part of that is it's hard to do. It's complex, and not every dealer, can be good at both sides of that. And what I mean is that there's the actual deployment of making it functional, and then there's the building of the user interface so it's aesthetically pleasing, intuitive, and everything that's required to deliver that real good user experience.
So Crestron Home, does it bring a standard user interface then to simplify that portion of it? I know that you are basically setting up a home through, initially it was through the iPad, right? You're not sitting down and writing code anymore, and when you're using Crestron Home, so you're you're bringing in different drivers for different products and putting together the directions on how things function. Take me through, just like, treat me like I'm a homeowner and I need to know, like, hey, how does this thing work? And give me the quick elevator pitch.
So it really is about that consistent user interface that we own and we control, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the key, so that your touch screens and your iPads and your mobile devices all look and work the same, and every project looks and works the same. And from an end user's perspective, you may have 2 or 3 homes that now look and work the same, right? And in the past, if you had a dealer in California and a dealer in New York who didn't share user interfaces or GUI designs, there was a good chance you had 2 different, very different experiences, even though Crestron may be on both projects.
Hmm.
So now controlling that, and delivering that consistency again, and focusing on the little things that make it really, really nice and easy to use, and continuing to evolve and improve that, are really, are changing the way Crestron's perceived in the residential space.
So you launch it September 2019, and there you put as much into it as you can at that point, and there's always a stopping point. You say this has got to launch, and then you make additions to it. So you've had these updates, upgrades. Um, so what have been some, what would you say, like, the basics of what it could do out of the gate, and then you said, okay, well, there's this that we need to add and that needs to change or something? How does that process work, and what's been
Yeah.
added over the past year?
So one thing I'll say is that this is a product that will never be quote unquote done,
Right.
right? There'll always be things to do and things we want to add, and things we want to streamline for our dealers, and enhance for our end users. And the beauty of that also is the fact that this product continues to evolve and expand on its own, right? So the customer, the end user who had this installed, say in October of 2019, has a better system today than on the day of installation, right? We've added features and continue to improve the user experience, and it's not heavy lifting for the dealer, right? For the most part, dealers aren't necessarily focused on going back to their existing customers and enhancing their user experience, right? Especially at little or no charge, right?
Right.
And this is something that, just literally with an app update that happens behind the scenes on your
Mm.
phone, and a firmware update from the dealer initiating on your system, it has improved the user experience over the past 15, 16 months. And so, things like, little things like adding dark mode for an iPhone, right? So,
Mhm.
you know, uh, even on your wall, on your touch screens, in a bedroom, at nighttime, having a white glaring background, is not great. So, having that feature added and with just a firmware update,
Okay.
enhancing functionality on our remote controls, just again with firmware updates. These are in the past having to open up that project in a customizable tool, adding that functionality could take hours, and then the risk of undoing things or breaking things elsewhere for the dealer was a good enough reason why they would never go back, right?
Right.
Or they couldn't charge enough to the customer, and the customer may not see the value in doing all that, right? Meanwhile, now we're doing these things all the time and improving that. So, I'd say some of the functionality that we've added that have really been valuable I'd say one of them would be the Lutron integration.
Mhm.
Again, being one of the first to have native support for Lutron's Homeworks QSX platform. And again, the ease of implementation is really simple. You know, the Crestron Home processor finds the Lutron processor on the network. It imports all of the keypads and all of the scenes and all of the buttons. The dealer can decide which ones he wants to expose to Crestron Home. It does a pretty good job of aligning room names. So we obviously have a kitchen on one side and the kitchen on the other. It brings in the proper keypads and buttons and scenes. If there is a conflict, the dealer is flagged, and in one place it may be called bedroom one, and in another place it's Billy's bedroom, and connecting those two pieces together. But that's as difficult as it gets, and then those just automatically populate.
Mm.
And again, that whole experience, both for the dealer and for the end user, are really, really, really positive. Especially knowing that it's not a first party, a full first party solution.
Right.
Um, the other things I think are our channel presets that automatically populate, and then each user in the household can have their own setup. Um, those are the things I find most valuable when I can, walk into a room and I see my favorites, and my wife can look at her remote and she's got her favorites. And again, things like that that just enhance the usability.
Yeah. So the idea that there's end user additions or changes that can be made to a limited degree. Obviously, you don't want them messing anything up, but that was always the complaint about custom programming, was that once it's locked down, you've got to call your integrator to come back and make a change. And it could have been just as simple as something changed with DirecTV or Dish or something, and you got your channels mixed up or something. And now to be able to do your own favorites or maybe create scenes without having the integrator have to make a truck roll to do it, that's a
Well,
huge
look,
thing.
and there's two parts to that, right? So yes, there is some significant end user customization, but the dealer is secure in the sense that should the homeowner accidentally set all of their lighting scenes to zero, right, and think that their lighting system is non-functional, they can contact the dealer. The dealer can simply restore the
Mhm.
system back to where it was at any particular time, or whatever they stamped as their golden master. Um, and then the other part is the dealer maintenance aspect of that. Look, um, again, the dealer is not responsible for securing these files and making sure those files are protected, right, and saved, and all in one spot. It was a challenge at times in the past when I had a team of programmers who worked for me. We're going to Mr. Jones's house we haven't been to in 4 or 5 years. Who's got the latest files? Are they all on the server? Um, and then you get there and find out you don't have the latest files, and now what do you do? And that just all of that goes out the window because everything now is stored in the cloud. And even if a system should fail completely, a dealer can go back and replace that processor. Even if it got hit by lightning, for instance, you can go back and replace that processor and pull down that last config from the cloud, and you're up and running in just a few minutes. That's just that's the future. That's really what we're shooting for. That whole holistic experience there.
Now, this Crestron Home 3.4 update, as of February 16th, we're recording ahead of that, and this will come out a little bit after that. So just so everyone who's listening knows when it was available, there are 9 or 10 features that are added. The first one I'd love for you to explain is the sequences feature and what that does, because I've always thought those are great security enhancements to lighting control system, especially. What all does it
So
do?
yeah, so sequences again are the ability. Well, we've had sequences for a while. This is an enhancement to sequences. So
Oh, okay.
sequences, if you look at it as like macros, right, where you can integrate a single button press to do multiple things across multiple subsystems. Again, what somebody would expect. What we've added in this coming release is to be the ability to schedule those and to add randomization to their timing.
Okay.
So a perfect example would be vacation mode, right? And this is not new. And being able to just execute, or play back your last 7 or 14 days of your lighting usage around the house to simulate that someone's home is great. But what this allows also is to bring in things other than just lighting, right? So I can randomize my shade movement and play that back during the day. I can turn TVs on and audio zones on and really make it look like someone has had, inside of the home. And so again, all of these things can be configured by the dealer very quickly, and that's really what the goal is to to do things like this. Again, that was something that came from a request. A few of our dealers had come back to us and said, it'd be really great. Vacation mode is great, but it'd be really great if we can add in other things. And so again, we can do that when we control this experience like this.
For some reason, I think of Home Alone when I think of sequences, kind of like his setup with making it look like there's a party going on in the house, and no one's there, or he's the only one there. What
So
about
yeah,
other features that are coming out with this update that are worth mentioning? What else can you tell us?
again, I can talk about another one that again came directly in from an exact use case. This was on a project in Europe where an MDU project. So there's a couple of hundred units. It's all got Crestron Home in every single unit. There's a keypad, a few keypads in the project, but the developer just wanted to be able to use a contact closure to emulate a keypad button press. That was not baked into the software. So that's added in this release, and we're able to accommodate that need. But again, it's there now for every project in the future and every project in the past. And so, things like that continue to add value are really big focuses down the road. Some of the other ones, being able to or access the TV tuner on smart TVs. Obviously, cord cutting is becoming more and more popular, even though a lot of these streaming services are getting pretty costly. So the overall cost savings isn't necessarily as great as it used to be when going from a TV service, but being able to use your smart TV apps as well as your internal tuner and are big features. And again, even the way we handle the apps on our touch screens and our remote controls, where the apps are listed individually as sources, so I can press the Netflix button or press the Amazon button and launch right into that service. And so adding TV tuners was a natural thing. One other feature that we've added that was really, really powerful is being able to customize dimming curves for specific lighting fixtures on our dimming modules. This is pretty common, a common need now with a variety of LED fixtures that are out there. There's no more, necessarily a linear curve to how they dim. So the dealer now can customize how those dimming curves happen. So it still give that feeling of linearity to a fixture that may not be dimmed in a linear way.
And all the changes that you're describing, do they automatically go to the systems that are deployed, or is this a firmware update that needs to be made from the dealer specifically engaged with the client?
So at this point in time, we're still asking the dealers to push these. Again, I think dealers, and this is really based on the feedback we've gotten from dealers, that app updates are pretty expected. Adding an update to my iPhone app is pretty expected nowadays. In most cases, dealers still want that control over when the other updates get pushed to their systems, because if there is a change, they want to be able to explain it or customize that for the customer. So right now, yes, it still requires the dealer to push that. The good thing is it can be pushed remotely from the dealer's home or office.
So looking ahead in general, what are some of the trends? I would say that when I talk to folks, it's always pandemic related, and you've been doing a lot of work with conferencing products and that sort of thing, and people working from home, school from home. Do you think that's continuing to drive a lot of your product development outside of just Crestron Home?
Absolutely. So I don't think people use the term post pandemic. I don't know what that means or when that'll happen. I don't think it'll be a flip of a switch,
Right.
right? I think it'll be it'll happen over the course of time, and I think that for the foreseeable future, many people will still be learning from home, working from home, socializing from home. And I think a lot of the products that we do sell in the commercial or enterprise space that we can move over to the residential space and make applicable for the residential space, there's certainly still opportunity for. Even I'm talking to you on our desktop audio conferencing system. It's a touchscreen that controls my Crestron Home system. So when I'm on a call like this, I press a single button. My lighting adjusts appropriately. It mutes any audio that I was playing. It turns on an indicator outside my office door to let my family know that I'm on a call, all from one single button press. And when I'm done, I can undo all of that with another button press. So tying that all together with a high quality audio conferencing device, this is where we live commercially. And so that really makes a lot of sense. And I don't see the need for that changing for the foreseeable future.
And just talking the basic blocking and tackling of being a manufacturer, working with dealers and doing trainings, it's hard to predict the future and getting people immunized and that sort of thing. I know that CEDIA is looking forward to having an expo on schedule in Indianapolis in September, and Infocom moved to October. Are you looking from a corporate standpoint to try to bring dealers in for trainings in person? Are you already doing some of this with distancing, or how's that working?
There hasn't been much in-person training. We've done some of it. Again, we do have some rules in place, and these are kind of soft rules, right? If the dealer's requesting it, we're not pushing it on them. If it's legal or allowed in that location, and if our employees feel comfortable doing it. So there's a number of things that have to align for us to do in persons. And for the most part, many of them can still be done remotely. I know people are weary of, these types of communications all day and every day. But there is still significant value there. I really hope CEDIA happens. We planned to return last year.
Right.
I am planning to be there this coming year. And I really, it would be really, really nice to be able to be in front of people again and to show off these products firsthand, because we have a number of things we plan to launch between now and then that I would love to be able to show off.
Well, I think we all are ready for things to improve, and yet we're all a little bit cautious as well, and for good reason. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Hope for science to help us out to get there quicker. John Clancy, thank you so much for all your time today.
My absolute pleasure. Great talking to you.
And thanks to everybody for joining us. Be sure to share, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. And check out all the latest residential tech news at restechtoday.com. Until next time, please stay safe, stay inspired, and let us know if you have a great story to tell.
Residential Tech Talk, lighting specialist to residential tech.
Home automation, smart device, home or smart house.